you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there and welcome to New Life Live. So glad you're with us here today, and boy, we're getting close to Christmas every day, a little closer. That's kind of a nice thing. Joining me today, Milan Yerkovich. He is a walking Christmas tree, lit up various colors. Oh my goodness. And Chris Williams is just a walking gift of Santa to the world or something like that. Anyway, we're glad that you guys are here today, and thank you for being here with me with your wisdom and maybe even your wit today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I love the privilege of being on here, and I talk about this often. One of the great things for me is that I get to learn from you guys. I get to learn from the co-hosts, and I'm always writing things down and always growing myself. So I appreciate you guys.
Steve, I'm glad we could be together and that we can do this. And the privilege of talking to our listeners. Listen, we all grow as we interchange with one another. That's right. The power of community, and all of us grow and change as we listen. And it's a pleasure to be here.
You know, I think people whether it's in ministry or they have their own practice, a lot of times you don't have good dialogue with other folks, and you don't hear other approaches. And that's what I love about this, is to get to hear different approaches. And, you know, while one of us is talking the whole tag team thing, the other one can be thinking about, well, here's another way to look at this, or a way to go deeper or different. And it just really makes it powerful in a way that, I've loved doing it for all of these years. Now, let's go to our phones here. We'll just start right off the bat. And how about we talk with, let's go to Marie from Seattle, Washington. Sirius XM is where she listens to the program. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. How could we help today? What's going on in your life?
Oh, well, little background. I'm in my mid-60s. I have three older sisters, and my parents are no longer living. We were raised in a Christian home by what I think is a father who was narcissistic and a mother who was, a gem. Very sweet. But very quiet. And fast forward to today, I have no relationship with my sisters. I've pulled away from each one individually, but I don't feel good about it. I don't know what the Lord expects from me. I don't know the steps I should take, whether I should just excuse me, give up on it, or...
Well, how did it end? What happened that ended everything?
Well, one by one, it's just, I'm the youngest. I feel like I'm the only one that, I'm very empathetic, and I felt like there's been no respect, nothing coming my way. An example was, we just lost our second daughter. She's in her 40s with cancer. I hear the music. And we were in Ohio when it happened, and I got no support from them. We had a funeral there. We came here and had a funeral, and their participation was to bring a salad, a small salad.
Oh,
and
boy.
Even that they couldn't do.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. All right, we'll talk about this right afterwards. I'm glad that you called. Maybe we can give you some help here. You're listening to New Life Live, and of course, we are very glad you are.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography. It might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Southern California February 28th to March the 1st. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back talking with Marie here, and really tough situation where Dad was, as she says, a narcissist, and we'll look at that. And then Mom was the quiet Jim, as you described it. But let me just ask Milan to talk with you a little bit about how we got to this situation. Okay, we'll start there because we want to give you some help here.
Well, Marie,
Thank you.
you know, sometimes the baby or the youngest in the family is in the most disadvantaged position. Nonetheless, you said to us, and you reported that you pulled away from each of them over some period of time for some reasons. Now, you know, if a family isn't solid to begin with, and then you get your feelings hurt and you pull away, you know, and then all of a sudden you're lonely, you know, we have to ask the question, why did I pull away and what was I expecting? And so I'd have to ask, why did you pull away from them? Because now you're lonely. And
There's been different situations, and it's been in the last 5 years when my mother passed, and it had to do with the estate, and we were in counseling. They used the counseling to attack me. I left just devastated. The counselor held me as I sobbed when I left, and he knew what was going on. And a lot of it has to do with holidays, just the selfishness, the lack of respect, the most recent one was my sister that was closest to me, a year older. At last Christmas, she came to my house with her husband. They are heavy marijuana smokers, but her husband went off on me in a very verbal, loud way, disrespectful way. And when it was done, I said, please don't come back to my house until we understand. My husband sent a text saying, please, we don't want you in our home again until we find out what this was all about and why you feel like you can, you know, we need some apology and understanding here first. Well, there's been no communication since. So that was my last sister.
Okay, so really, Marie, I'm really then therefore not sure what your question is, because I don't know if I would want to have unhealthy people surrounding me and in my home for the holidays. And so
I don't.
So
Volatile people.
So then I'm not sure what your question is. They haven't shown empathy. They haven't been close. They haven't been supportive. And it sounds like they don't have the capacity to do those kinds of things that you would hope they would be.
Then how do I feel good about it when I hear about forgiveness and mercy?
You can't, Marie. You can't feel good about it. There's a lot of people in the world, including family members, that we will not be close to. The closest people to me are not family members. They are my friends and people that I've chosen, not ones who were given to me because we had the same last name. And I think you have to stop, and you can't feel good about it. It's a perpetual lament.
And there are a lot of people that forgive, but you don't feel good about forgiving.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't change them, it changes you when you forgive. So so you have to forgive them and move on because they're not moving on.
But Steve, just explain for a second how forgiveness is different than trust and spending time together.
Yeah, there's no reconciliation when you forgive. Forgiveness just says, I don't need anything from these folks. I don't expect anything. I've been hurt by them. They are incapable of restoring relationships. So I'm going to have to pull my word of the year for 2020 again. I must have acceptance of them as hampered forever, and I can't. Here's an old saying that works. Can't get blood out of a turnip, can't get healthy behavior out of people that are volatile and mean around you. You want to separate from them and then develop new relationships that you can feel good about. All right, Chris, what are you thinking here?
I just, to add one thing, and it's to affirm what you're hearing, Marie, and that is feeling better is on the other side of your grief process. You have the family that you've needed, and you're really attached to that family, but then you have the family that you actually have. And there is a huge gap in between those two things. And when you accept the family that you have, then you're going to grieve the family you always needed but never got. And that grieving process, and then it leads you also, as Steve and Milan were saying, to start connecting with healthier people in your life, to build the family of choice rather than your family of origin, trying to make them what they are not and never will be.
So, Marie, here's how this happens. We're here for the holidays. You're looking at the holidays. You're feeling lonely. And you're thinking, boy, if there's some bridge, if there was some way we could get together, but that denies the reality of whoever they have become. So we have to expand our options away from them to healing, helpful communities that we find in recovery groups, women's Bible studies, women's groups, volunteering with other people. Get out of yourself and into other folks to develop those relationships, because just because these are your family doesn't mean that they're the ones that are going to provide you with, well, a lack of loneliness and a feeling of belonging. You have to go elsewhere or you're going to be stuck. And it's not going to be a good life. It's not the life you're looking for. Anything else, guys, you want to add here? Yeah, go ahead.
I have started isolating myself because of just feeling like a failure in relationships. I thought, how I think is, in the world, this is what they would do. Just pull away and say, well, see you later.
Well, really, okay, so Maria, really quickly. Okay, we learn about ourselves and our families, but oftentimes we learn something that is false, like shame. So failure is a shame message. You're not a failure. You're reaching out. You're talking to us. We can hear it. I mean, there are certain things in you that may need growth like the rest of us, but healthy people, going back to Steve Arterburn's word of 2020, start and lead with acceptance. Not agreement. We don't have to agree that bad behavior is healthy or good, but we accept that it is, and most importantly, we accept who we are at the core as loved by God.
And final word, if you're a failure, I would be a failure too, because if I had someone go off on me like that, I wouldn't want to be around them, and I'd say, we're not going to do this anymore. Bye-bye. My life is too short, too valuable for you to have access to it. So that doesn't mean I can't forgive them and move on. I don't have to hold a grudge, but I'm not moving toward reconciliation with people like that. Let's go back to the phones, and how about we talk to Amanda, Fairfax, Virginia. WAVA is the station. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
How are you? I'm good, thank you.
What's going on?
Hello? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's going on?
I had a quick question about my son. He's 19, going to turn 20 in June. First year of college, first semester completed. But I think my question is about boundaries and enabling and all of that. You were talking about CBD before, so he has gotten into vaping. He's gotten into pretty much everything. He's in his like prodigal period, but it's gotten a lot better. Over things like he broke up with his girlfriend, realizes all the waste of time and everything. So that it's gotten better. But now we are at the point where he basically didn't do well at all in college. Like, he had to withdraw from most of his classes, and the ones he has left, maybe he'll get one decent grade out of them. But college is costly, for one. And the other thing is, we're contemplating going to a mental health professional for ADHD diagnosis, and he's had some kind of, diagnosis of some sort, not the full-fledged medical evaluation, but sort of a cursory exam where they said, okay, he has mild ADHD and he got some accommodations in school, but he's really not, handling college. And so, with the behaviors like vaping and things like that, how do we go forward and support him? Do we keep him where he is, or do we bring him home? And how do we make those kind of decisions?
Okay, great question. I'm just curious. I mean, he's at college at great expense, failing there, and doing destructive things. As you said, it's not just the vaping. I just can't imagine paying for his tuition. Now, I got to tell you, we had one of ours that we said, if you follow our rules while you're at college, we pay. You don't follow these rules. And they were pretty broad rules, but they were important. Don't follow the rules. We're not paying for tuition. Well, we're paying for tuition now because once we quit paying tuition, started following the rules. But I'm just wondering if college is the place for your son versus a trade school or something, or a missions organization, a trip, or something other than just going right back. I mean, that's my question.
Exactly. I mean, we know that, and how do we get him to the point where, he starts taking a look at some of those options? I guess, like saying we're not paying, but do we even co-sign on a loan for him? It's just, I wasn't even going to pay for the first semester.
Amanda, let me jump in. Here's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
You're figuring out way too much for your 19-year-old son.
Okay, good. I need to hear that.
Okay, he's 19. He's can make his own decisions. He can connect to his own desires and his own wants and start taking hard responsibility for those things. And so what you need to decide is what you're willing to help him with and what you're not. Meaning this, I will pay for this much of college, but what Steve was saying, because it's an investment, here is what I need for my return on investment. When I don't get that, the money stops. Okay, so if you think you have a learning disability, great. By the way, I would look at, Milan mentioned this with a previous caller on a previous show, but ADHD, I'd look a lot more at anxiety first before I would go ADHD. But secondly, again, it's asking him what he wants. When you stop figuring out all those things for him, then it forces him to figure it out on his own.
Okay.
Mylan, you've raised a few of these. I want. Hold on a second. I want Milan to weigh in on this because he's raised a few of these, and they seem to be doing pretty well.
And my husband's also listening.
Good.
He's with what?
He's listening in. Yeah.
Listening.
My husband's beside me listening so that we can.
That's really cool. One of the principles of the world is quid pro quo. You do this.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You do
what
this.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you. You do this, and I'll give you that. This for that. And so it slays me, for instance, Amanda, when all these kids sign up for student loans, rack up, $250,000 and then default on their payments. Right. That's the very first thing we learn in life is if you're true to your word, you sign a contract, etc. I would tell him that you failed your first semester, so you need to come home, have a 40-hour-a-week job, and you have to work 40 hours a week and pay rent. And if you can't do that, then you can't live here. You'll have to find some roommates and go do something else and figure out a way to make it work. When you are responsible and when you have, as Chris said, have gotten to a place where you you called him a prodigal in that story, when he kind of wakes up to his senses and realizes, I don't like working 40 hours a week as a clerk at Costco. I really, really think I'd like to go to college. Now he's inspired, and he's making his own decisions. Mm-hmm. And then he could also be working part-time while he's going to college, like a lot of us did. And I would make him, again, prove that he wants your support.
We'll be back right after this for more New Life Live.
Most of my life I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and so Amanda, just to finish up, we really think that you're at a crossroads here, and probably doing the easy thing is not necessarily the best thing in these kind of situations.
Okay,
and
so my takeaway, if I may interrupt, sorry. My takeaway is my husband and I decide what we can afford or feel comfortable doing for him, whether it's like health insurance or whatever little part we will play. And then we decide to put the responsibility on him, and then we convey that with the rules, expectations, in a loving manner, and then go from there. I think that's what you were saying.
Yes, and I would just say this, and when you lay this and when you lay this out, you need to agree that him promising to do better doesn't erase anything that you've pre-decided.
Right. But it's okay to go back and say that after, like I never told him at the beginning of the semester, you have to do this or else we won't support you. So that's my problem. Like, do we have to go forward another semester to say...
Yeah. No, you can say, hey, you know what? We paid for this first semester. Here's what happened. Mm-hmm. You failed. You vaped. Mm-hmm. You're into this stuff. We can't do that again.
Yeah, and the new situation requires new solutions. You are in process as he is.
And it really is a 19-year-old's job to figure out, I can't just go to college and flunk everything and expect mom and dad to help me come back here and do it again. That'd be kind of foolish.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would not help him. All right, great. Thank you so much for some clarity.
And one final thing, just in all of this, you're letting him know we believe you can turn this around. You just can't turn it around there on your own. And we're behind you, and that's why we're doing something that's really, really hard for us to do. I think that could be amazing. You know, so many folks struggling with their adult or young adult kids, but it's in the struggle that we get some really good results from time to time. Let's talk to Gideon from Washington, D.C. Gideon, how are you today?
I'm okay, sir. How are you doing?
Good. How can we help today?
Well, first, I want to appreciate your effort in tackling the life issues on this program. I listen to this program most daily, every day. Your first program, then the first one. I have 2 questions. One is I have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old girl. I noticed recently that the way I speak to the 6 years, I talk to him with a loud voice, which he has translated to talking to the sister, which is 2 years. So I want to know what can I do on my part, to reduce my side of talking to him loudly, so that it will also affect the sister.
Okay,
because I don't like the way he talks to the sisters.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so Milan, want to get us started here with Gideon, and you got a 6-year-old talking loudly and aggressively with the 2-year-old, very much like Dad here.
Well, Gideon, what a fabulous question you're asking, because this is a proving out of what the Bible says: we reap what we sow. Children learn by modeling, and if we speak aggressively or loud to our children, they're going to accept and adopt what we modeled in terms of behavior, and then the attitude and the emotional climate of the relationship is also absorbed by the child. Mm-hmm. So they absorb hostility or aggression. And so I would do 2 things. And this is something that a lot of parents don't do, but it's really important, especially to a 6-year-old. I would confess to my 6-year-old that I have made a mistake. I have talked loud and aggressive to you, and I want to change what I am doing because I can see that you're doing that to your sister. And so we're going to learn to talk softly to each other and care and nurture. And I'm going to teach you, my 6-year-old, how to have comfort, nurture, touch, holding, affection, kisses, hear I love yous, and I'm going to begin to model a different mode of parenting. And then we also, number 2, then need to ask him to learn to do that with his sister, and learn to transfer what you're modeling him to his sister and everybody else in his world in the present and in the future.
Okay.
That's huge. Huge.
Yeah.
And you know what? I believe you're teaching your child how to ask you for forgiveness when you ask them for forgiveness. And you're showing them that you're not 100%. You don't expect them to be 100%. Humbling down. What a great thing that is, even with our kids.
Well, and I think that I'm going through this with my 8-year-old right now, and it's teaching empathy. It's modeling and also talking about it. How would it make you feel? How do you feel when I yell at you or when I raise my voice at you? And how do you imagine your sister would feel in that? And he's coming up on that age where we can start teaching those empathic principles as well as the modeling.
And the odds are that Gideon had somebody speak loud and aggressively to him when he was a little boy growing up.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's
odds
right.
are he's modeling what happened to him.
Yeah.
All right. If you'll stay tuned, we are not going to raise our voice to you as we ask you to support us, and we thank those who support us. We'll be back.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change, and that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption. But you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay in the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you a set of 4 devotionals, 100 Days of Character, Peace, Prayer, and the newly released 100 Days of Healing. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back and so glad that you're with us here on New Life Live. And, you know, we're here because it's tough to get help. It's embarrassing sometimes to get help. People call us anonymously, but it can lead to a person getting help at an intensive or going to see a Christian counselor who's dedicated their whole life to reaching out and helping other people, not from the pulpit, but by sitting down on a one-on-one basis. We can help with that, but we can't do it without you. So please support us. Think about us during this time of year-end giving. We are very grateful for all of those who support us and hope and pray that you will too. Let's go back to the phones, by the way, and let's see. How about we talk with, let's go over here to Sarah from Houston, Texas, and she listens on Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
Hey, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for your ministry. This is 19-year-old Sunday, I guess. Have a 19-year-old son who was smoking marijuana heavily. He had a really bad experience with synthetic marijuana. He had the psychosis, the induced psychosis. The psychosis has resolved. It's been a year since all this occurred. And he has the condition of depersonalization now. And he is a believer himself. He's getting Christian counseling. He's done all that on his own. And he is seeing a psychiatrist for medication therapy. And, he's doing the cognitive behavioral therapy. But my question is, have you seen improvement with cognitive behavioral therapy and psychiatry coupled together for this depersonalization condition?
What do you think, Chris?
I'll just say this. Cognitive behavioral for depersonalization is limited because we're going after a part of the brain that thinks and figures things out, and we need to go after a part of the brain that feels. Because what happens in depersonalization is there's something intolerable that I'm feeling in my body, so I need to get out of it. And so there's different types of therapy. EMDR could be very effective with this. Something called somatic experiencing could be effective with this, as well as doing what we call attachment work. That Milan and Kay and Relationship 180 does really well. But really, we got to get him back in his body where he feels comfortable in his own skin. Now, there is a cognitive part of that that's important to pay attention to, but it's more than that. Does that make sense?
So, yes, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of history about him and why he is, I believe, everything I've read about, there's so little as far as research that I'm able to grab hold of. So I'm interested in any resources that you have. But, his father was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
We were divorced because of that. His dad died 3 years ago. And I think what happened is he had like a realization that I'm going to turn into my dad,
Yeah.
And I think it just caused a panic, and he just has not been able to come out of it. His heart is right. His heart's in the right place. He's in a Christian school.
Well,
He's trying to get
and
it together,
Sarah, let me just
personalization.
Let me just say this:
Yes.
it's more than that. He actually, the term is, he became trauma bonded with his dad. His dad's pain became his pain. His dad's struggle became his, because he wants to be close to his dad. And that he doesn't know how to deal with the incredible loss of his dad to addiction and also the loss of his dad to death. I mean, there is so much complex thing that going into much deeper trauma work, the more picture you give me, he's got to do something well beyond cognitive behavioral and well beyond psychiatry.
So I'm kind of at a loss because I don't, this is I've read about EMDR, and but some of these things I'm not familiar. I don't know the jargon.
Yeah. Well,
I'm interested in any resources that you may have for me.
Well, one of the resources that I would suggest is a book called The Body Keeps Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. So there's a lot of language in there that's kind of sciencey, but there's also a lot of things in there that are very understandable, and it really walks through. It's a pretty thick book, but it really can help us understand what happens inside of us and what happens in our body when we go through difficult experiences that remain unhealed and untouched.
Yeah, I would agree, Sarah, with everything that Chris just said. This is important to see him through the lens of trauma. And so with a trauma-trained therapist, they will approach things differently than a pure cognitive behavioral therapy. Additionally, the body, the somatic aspects of the work that go along with traumatic recovery are very important. I would wholeheartedly agree. The book by Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score, is your best introduction into this topic, okay?
So
I'm glad that,
as far as counselors, do you offer, I mean, I know that on your website you have lists of counselors. I assume that there are referrals for that on there, on your website?
Yeah. If you'll hold on, we'll connect you with our call center, because that's where we can try to track down the best help in your area, more than just looking at the list and clicking on it. And, of course, anybody else can do that at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You know, it's so fascinating when you hear about someone who depersonalizes and you know that they have an addiction. Because there's part of this realization that my body is addicted. And I don't want this. Then you got the trauma bond with the addict father. You just can't simply help the person. It's complex.
Yeah.
It's difficult. You need everything you have going for you.
And you just need people to really help you get down to the core pain points and work through those pain points, as well as try not to medicate them in unhealthy ways. And that takes a lot of support. That takes a lot of help and a lot of expertise.
Yep. All right. I hope that's helpful to you. I'll send Take Your Life Back. It will help you so that you're not reacting to him, but you're responding to him in the best way possible. I hope it'll be a blessing to you. Let's go to Nancy, Atlantic City, New Jersey, listens on the podcast. Hi there. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Well, that is just really good. then why in the world did you call?
That's what I was.
Well, I've supported you guys for years. I love you guys.
Thank you.
I just love this big funnel of wisdom that we get poured into our lives and our hearts all the time. But I have a situation with a niece. Her father died of cancer when she was in high school. Her mother had schizophrenia and put the family through some hard things. She was an only child. She went to school. She's very bright. She has her master's degree. But when she went to choose a husband, he has mental problems. And a few years ago, about 5 years ago, he hurt himself very badly while he was working. He injured one of his arms and went to a urgent care center who did a very poor job of stitching him together, didn't attach some nerves, entrapped some nerves, very poor medical care. His mental illness has definitely affected the choices that he's made for his medical care. So his view of reality is pretty bad.
I would think so.
He doesn't hear what people are saying to him. He did not hear what a surgeon, a hand surgeon, did a surgery for him, and a few weeks later, the scar tissue entrapped part of the problem, and the pain has increased, so he's now in horrible pain. But when the doctor says, I really can't do anything more, my question is, she's tired of it. She wants a divorce. She wants him just to leave. He's not working now. He's calling me to be encouraged and to talk his story. What can I do for him? What can I say to him? Because he only listens to what you say as long as you're listening to him tell his story or what the doctors did now or what this test said. He's not really looking for, reality. What do we do?
Yeah.
What do I say?
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to give you some help right after this. This is where you sign up for marriage in sickness and in health, for better or for worse. Man, that's a tough sign up. And so we've got to look at every option possible to make a tough situation, a crummy situation, better. And that's what we'll do. Right after this, you're listening to New Life Live, and we're glad that you are. Hope and pray that something we say might encourage you to look at things differently. It's amazing. The Bible says that we could be transformed by changing the way we think. People say, that sounds so simple. It's pretty hard to change the way you think, but we want to help you do
it. She said, we need to talk. She's asked me for the first time if I would consider myself a sex addict. I thought it was just about admitting the things that I had done wrong. I never had a clue that it was about redeeming our story. I thought it was just about coming clean on what I had done. I had no idea how to help her with her pain. She was a mess, I was a mess, and we got divorced. Going to EMB, surrounding myself with these other men, they accepted me for who I was and what I had done, but they challenged me to step up and do better. They'll be around other men who are not just pointing the finger, but willing to get in and wade through it with them, get in the trenches. They'll get hope from this workshop. Take my sweet wife and my story. We were divorced, remarried, and on our way to what I think will be the sweetest years of our lives. It's no longer simply about surviving. For the first time ever, we're thriving, we're enjoying where we're at.
Hey, listen, if you're struggling, we want to see you at the workshop. Give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of the problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
All right, we are talking to Nancy and her nephew-in-law is who she's dealing with because it's her niece. Chris, you had some thoughts here about Nancy's role in all of this. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, there's this triangle relationship thing we get into. I call it the Bermuda Triangle of relational death. And what that is that there
sounds optimistic. Yeah.
Yes, it's actually called the Cartman Triangle, but it's where you have a victim, a perpetrator, and a rescuer. And the most powerful position in the triangle is the victim. And the victim is committed to their victimhood and committed to what we call their learned helplessness. Steve does a great job of talking about that in Take Your Life Back. I'm not saying what your nephew-in-law has been through hasn't been hard and hasn't been difficult, but it also sounds like he's committed to this helpless position. And so I just want you to know that, and that you can't rescue him out of that. That's not going to happen. You can.
I know I can't. The only thing I seem to be able to do is listen to him. She appreciates that because she just can't listen anymore. She's so tired of the whole issue.
Well, and there comes a time when we say talk is cheap. Yeah, we want to empathize, but we also don't want to keep the problem persistent and going. And it is a matter of like, I'm not here to enable you just by listening to you, but I'm also here like I will support you again as you're able to support yourself. I'm not taking away the fact that what he's been through isn't legitimate and painful. But again, it seems like he's just caught in a loop where no matter what advice you give him, no matter what suggestion, he has a reason why it can't and won't work.
Well, he's going to doctors, and to the point where he was such an irritant to the office, they had to take legal action to get him not to come back.
Okay, so it's called learned. It's called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness, and it really requires a very unique kind of help to get out of that position.
Well, there's something else here too. You know, he could have an obsessive compulsive disorder, or even obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is very rigid and dominating, et cetera, and he needs to be told, you know, look, how are people responding to you? And you need to pay attention to how people are responding to you, because they're tired, they're getting tired, and you're wearing out the welcome mat. And so you have a choice. You can either treat this larger condition here, which is sabotaging everything. Because I know a lot of people with disabilities that have very productive lives, even though one part of their body doesn't work well. But he really needs to work hard on this, because he's repelling everybody around him, including his wife. And that is the message. It's not, I'm not going to keep listening to you tell me about what happened at the office, the doctor's office, and the legal action. When are you going to go work on this? This is a serious problem that's not going to go away.
What are you going to do differently
to go work on
before
this?
Versus how could I listen to you more and deeper and hope things will get better? No,
so Nancy, have a hard line with him. Tell him that. And you look up obsessive compulsive OCD or obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and or other dominating types of behaviors and mental conditions, because he's not fun to be around, and everybody's telling him that, and that's the mirror that needs to be held up to him.
Okay, I'm going to send you Take Your Life Back, and I hope that could help you get some insight into him, because I'm telling you, he is one reactive man, and it really can give you some insight into that. Milan has said, take the hard line, and it's not fun, but I think that's where the hope lies. Speaking of hard line, this man's never had a hard line. Larry Sonnenberg's in the studio. Larry, full of grace and mercy for all people and small animals. Talk to us about
the bottom line.
The bottom line. There you go.
Well, two things. One is our matching gift. We have a matching gift going on right now, and people are responding. I want to thank everybody who is. The matching gift is a pooled fund from a group of donors. It's $168,700, and that has to be done by December 31st. So the appeal is for you to support that. Make a gift right now towards the matching fund, and your gift will be doubled. You know, when our kids were little, Ron and I encouraged them to save money, and we said, every dollar you put in your savings account, we'll match it. And it worked. People love to have their gifts matched, and so this is the same thing with a much bigger limit than Ron and I ever had. So if you can make a gift, it will make a big difference. And here's what it does. A guy wrote to us, said, you all have no idea how grateful I feel for what you've done for me, my family, my marriage, and my future. I don't think I could ever say or do enough to show you how grateful I am. When lives are affected like that, it pleads.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, please give. Yeah, that's what we're going to use the money for. Reach more people, help more people.
All right, help us help others. You know, our biggest goal is to get people the help they need. It may be a book, a counselor, a life recovery group, a workshop. Many ways that we can help you. Just, we don't want you to stay stuck. And the only way we can reach people is if you help us reach them. It's that way from the very beginning of New Life. We've always had partners, and we're grateful for those partners. And so please, if there's any way you can help, call us and tell us you can, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And it's just so rewarding to hear that somebody has done something and it's been life-changing. And it's such a gift to us to be able to get that kind of feedback that they really did do something that changed everything. Now, one of the things that we have done more than any other workshop is Every Man's Battle. We do it every month because the difficulty, the struggle is so pervasive out there. But guess what? Every man that struggles with Every Man's Battle, there's a woman. It could be a mother, a sister, a wife, girlfriend, daughter. Somebody else has been impacted by this, and if that is you, we've got a workshop for you. It's Hope for a Woman's Heart. It's called Restore, and that's what it's all about. It's restoration. It's not license for the person to continue hurting you, but it's restoration, and it really does set you on a different path away from bitterness, anger, and resentment. We're going to be doing Restore February the 28th in Orange County. On the 14th of February, Milan and I will be there with Kay doing our marriage intensive. It's all about intimacy at all levels. Oh my goodness. It has set marriages free, kept marriages together. You know, whether it's divorce or the miserably married, we're able to have an impact there, and we're doing that on the 14th. Every Man's Battle is January the 10th, and you could start off the decade with sexual integrity and sexual purity, and then everything starts to change. When you have an addiction and just trying harder makes it actually worse with more shame, it's time to say, what else could I do? Well, that's where you bring in all the forces that are possible to take care of it. And you can do that by calling us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE at 639-5433. We are online at newlife.com. We have an 800 number, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, for help or for helping us. We love you. Thanks for your support. Thanks for listening. Tell somebody about it. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Milan. Take care. 1-800 new life is enough.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.